Alright, welcome back. So today we're going to be looking at putting an armature on our pig, but first we're going to insert the eyes and shade it smooth. So this is continuing on from our last project where we were looking at sculpting the pig. Now we're just going to add the armature. Now what I'm going to do is going to open up a new workspace. If I just go ahead and add a new one, I'm going to use their standard layout. So go over here, go to General, and then go to Layout. So you can see our little pig in the environment. We got a camera over here. Zoom out just a little bit by scrolling the wheel back. You'll have your light source up here as well. You can delete them if you want to and add them in later, but I'm just going to leave it in because they're not going to really bother me right now. Alright, so if I zoom in on our pig, this is what he looks like. Now to shade him smooth, all we're going to do is go up to Object and move down to Shade Smooth. Alright, so that's what he looks like. Not bad at all. Alright, so adding an armature. First we want to add in the eyeballs, then we're going to add the armature and make sure everything's all joined up. Nice. Now I'm just going to click on the X to start from the side view. Clicking on Shift A, we're going to add a new bit of geometry. And I'm going to use a UV sphere. Okay. G on the keyboard will move our actual geometry out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the sphere so that this top part is facing forward, because later on when we shade it, there'll be two types of shading we're going to try. We're going to do like this sort of waxy cartoonish type shading, and then we're going to look at doing proper toon shading as well. So yep, if you just hit R on the keyboard, we can rotate like so, and you get that. Just Control Z for a second. If I come up here, this little tab, open that up. That brings up your transformation menu. You have your rotations here as well. So if I just hit R on the keyboard, you'll see that the X is rotating. Okay, so we want a 90-degree rotation. Type in 90 degrees. Like so. There we go. Now we're going to scale it down. You can use this, but just use the keyboard commands. S on the keyboard will scale it. Scale it down to roughly an eyeball size, like so. Then hit G on the keyboard and then just sort of move it in place. Alright. Now I'm just going to go to the front view. So that's in the Y. Just roll in for a second. Now you see it's in the center. We need to obviously put it where the eye is. S on the keyboard. Oh, no, sorry, not S. My bad. Scale that back down. G on the keyboard. We're just going to move it across. Like so. Go back into the side view. So we can hit X on the keyboard, X on the view. And then hit G on the keyboard. And just move it back in. So, like that. Alright, just click and rotate and see how that looks. Alright, not too bad. Probably might want to scale it up just a tad bit. So, S on the keyboard again. Just scale it up like so. Alright, there we go. Now I'm just going to duplicate. Now it's as simple as going Control C and then Control V, which is just copy and paste, then G to move it. Alright, so we're just moving to the other side. And there it is. We have a right and left eye. Now at this point it's probably a good idea to start naming parts of your object. Now the quad sphere, which is our actual body of our pig, you got one says sphere and then one sphere and one. You really need to start naming him. So that would be the right eye. Now it's simple as just typing in, double clicking and hit I, and I'm just going to write R for right. Click on the next one, I, and then L for left. Click on that, call that body. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to do the same thing with the smoothing of the eyes. We're just going to select both eyes. Holding your finger down on Shift, you can do multiple selections at once. Go up to Object, and then we're going to go ahead and shade smooth as well. There it is. Alright, not too bad. So at this point you probably want to start saving as well. So just go up to File, Save As, and then give it a project name. Now I'm going to name this in parts, so I've got Pig Demo 1, That's the first project file, and I'm going to call pig demo 2 as my second project file. Now you don't have to do that, but I'm just creating multiple copies so they can be used later on as well for any lessons. Alright, now looking at our pig here, we're going to go into a side view. Sorry, wrong view, there we go. And we're going to start adding the armature. Now, up here in our little viewport shading, we want to make sure that we have the wire mesh view active. So we want to see all the subdivisions and all the parts. Now, adding an armature, it's as simple as going Shift-A on the keyboard while you're in object mode. So make sure that you're up there in object mode. If you hit Tab on the keyboard once, you can go into edit mode, tab again back into object mode. But first we want to start in object mode, and we're going to hit Shift-A on the keyboard. And we're going to add the armature. And we're just going to click. Now it should be placed in the center. That's always a good place to start. Now, if you hit Tab on the keyboard and go into edit mode, you'll notice that your armature's gone full gray, which just means it's ready for editing. Now, that top section, while selected, we're going to hit G on the keyboard. Now, you really don't want to move this from its center, so that really needs to stay in place. So let's just hit G on the keyboard and move it downwards, and we're going to place that there for the head. Now I'm going to click on the center one, hit E on the keyboard, and that will extrude a new bone. I'm going to move that back for his pelvis. And now you can actually start adding all the different bones for your actual pig. Now I'm going to come up one bit, then I come across like so. That can be for the tail. I'm going to click in here at the front where the head is I'm going to hit E on the keyboard again. Oh no, sorry. Control Z that. E this time, not G. And come up towards the eyes. I'm going to place one right here. And then I'm going to go E again and just place one right there. Alright, I'm going to come back to that one in a second. I'm going to branch it out for the eyes. But I'm going to do all the side profiles first. Then I'm going to go out and work with the front. Now, I've got one more to do from the side. Click on the bottom part of the bone. Hit E in the keyboard, extrude outwards, and I'm going to come out for the nose, just to here, and then one more time, E on the keyboard, and we'll come out for the nose as well. Alright, because we want the nose to be able to wiggle, and all the parts, I guess, moving more naturally, but still retaining sort of that cartoonish animated look. Alright, now I'm going to change views. I'm going to go from the front view, and I'm going to come down towards the front legs and the eyes. So what I'm going to do first is just click and just rotate. Now with the front legs, I'm going to come off from that section of the bones, that join, and then go back into the front view, and then hit extrude. Then come down once towards one of the legs, then come down again, and then one more time for the foot. You can turn on mirroring mode and mirror the bones, but since this is a stage 5 project and you really want to be focusing on teaching the kids that sort of technique and that repetition, I would just recommend working each bone at a time, just to rotate and just give you an idea of what that should look like. Now we're going to move it and tidy it up in a moment, but I'm just going to go ahead and do the other side as well. So once again, E on the keyboard, extrude, E again, and so on. So it is a bit repetitive, but it's all about that practicing to get it, getting used to sort of that modeling and rigging side of things. Now, repositioning the bones so they're actually sitting in a proper location. All you have to do is click on the join and hit G on the keyboard, and then just sort of move it into the place you want. So I'm just going to kick the front legs forward, back a little bit, because we want to be able to animate it a lot easier. Rotate forward. Make sure that the actual bottom bones where they go into the foot are in the center, which it's looking like so. Alright, very cool. Now you repeat the process for the back legs. So what I'm going to do is click on that back join and then go into view. And once again, just start the process again. E on the keyboard, extrude, and so on. All right, rotate, see what it looks like. Now, it has come off out of the body, but that doesn't matter. We'll put it back in shortly. We just want to make sure that all the parts are coming together evenly. And once again, I'm just extruding. All right, now, yep, okay, I've made a mistake there. Extrude in the wrong direction. And there we go. All right. So look, yeah, if you make a mistake, that's no problems at all. Just Control Z a few times until, you know, the error is gone. So I'm not going to go and fix up the screen recordings and try to hide the mistakes. It's there's no issues with it. It's always good to, if you do fail, that you might as well just fix it on the fly. All right, so we're going to hit G on the keyboard. I'm just going to move everything back into location where I want it to be. Rotate, make sure it's looking nice and tidy. So you always want to spend a little bit of time with the rigging and not to rush it, because it can end up failing. You'll get some weird topography of your mesh, and it could distort, and the animation can be sort of rough, or the actual armature doesn't bind properly, or just binds really weird, and you know, it can be a bit disheartening. So a bit of time, a bit of patience, just working with it. Making sure it looks nice. So now I'm just going to go into side view and just tidy things up. Try to keep it as symmetrical as possible. Alright, almost there. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Let's just see those back legs. Might just move up a bit. Okay, alright, that doesn't look too bad. Alright, so we're going to have a look at doing the eyes now, and in the ears. So I'm going to go from the top view and select the bone. Now if you hold your finger on shift and then click the center wheel, you can pan your canvas, which really does help, especially navigating these smaller sections. Alright, E on the keyboard again. I'm going to extrude out, then E again, extrude in towards the eyes. Now I'm just putting this in so there's a bit of better weighting and the eyes don't move around too much when we do the automatic weight for the armature. We're not going to be looking at weight painting right now. We're just going to use the Blender's automatic weights. Alright, doesn't look too bad. Okay, now for the ears, I'm going to come off this bone as well. Now ears come up and across. Now the more bones you put in, the more organic and sort of buttery, I guess, your animation is going to look. But once again, this is meant to be very cartoonish, so don't overdo it, is my sort of takeaway. Well, I guess the takeaway from this is just do enough that it actually works. So you have something tangible that the kids can animate. It is a simple project. It isn't a complicated one. We're not going too far deep into rigging and animating in regards to weighting and everything else that goes into it. We're just focusing on just building a project that can be built in a reasonable amount of time and get some results out of it. And just a reminder, this is for a stage 5 project, so we don't want to just overdo it. Just enough that, you know, you got something enjoyable the kids can actually play around with. Now you want to build up. Good thing about Blender, it's the latest Blender anyway that I'm using is 2.8. It's a lot more friendly than it has been in the past with animating in regards to building characters with armatures and everything else. It has made it more simpler than most programs. I find it that you can build a pretty good project relatively easily in a quick amount of time and get something out of it. All right, so that is looking pretty snazzy. All we need to do now is actually add the weighting and see if it actually works. So what we're going to do is come back into object mode. So you can click up here in this in your little settings here. So you got edit mode, object mode, and pose mode. Once again, hitting tab on the keyboard will do the same. You want to be able to see that your armature is selected, as we have here. Now, what I'm going to do is remove the camera first, because I don't want to bind the camera to the actual object as well, and the light. Go ahead and remove that. And look, if the kids accidentally bind it, that's fine. It's not a big issue. It's not the end of the world if you get the camera and lights all in, but you know, try to make it as clean as possible. Now, what I'm going to do is I hit A on the keyboard. That should select everything. Now, you want to make sure your armature is selected first, then hit A on the keyboard, then everything is fully selected. Now, all you need to do is right-click, and then you want to go down to Parent, and you're looking for Armature Deform with Automatic Weights, or hit Control P on the keyboard, and off we go. Now, you should see that little spinning wheel. That's always a good sign that the weighting has worked. If it's instantaneous, then there's potentially an issue with the weighting, and you may have to restart the armature again. Now, to see if it actually worked, we're just going to go out of object mode into pose mode, and just click on a bone. So clicking on the bone, it should highlight blue. And here's a moment of truth. So I'm going to hit R on the keyboard to rotate. And there we go. Now you can notice that the mesh is deforming and we're getting some movements. Okay, once again, try a different bone. I'm going to try the leg bone, hit R on the keyboard, move, and there it is. You can hit G on the keyboard and it does the same. So R and G, not a big issue. Now, why I'd click R more often than the G, or the G more often than the R, really depends on what view you're going to do. So for example, like up here, where you might want the sort of the hip to wiggle, if you hit G on the keyboard, you can actually break the bone. So not a good ideal thing, so Control Z that. R on the keyboard will still lock it in place and you can get that wiggle from side to side, like so. Alrighty. So once you test the bones and make sure that the parts are moving and all is well, then yeah, you can go ahead and hit save. So that's a Control S to save that. Just to give you an idea of what else you can do, there's the arching backwards. I might just go into change the viewport mode. Well, I know I still have my bone selected. I can just move it just to show you guys what it looks like with it in weighted properly. So it's not too bad with the automatic weighting. It kind of works with this cartoonish animation that we're going to be doing. And then there we go. There's our little piggy with a bone structure. So let's go ahead and show you once again what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Control S once again to save. I'm always a bit paranoid. I like to always save as I go along. But yeah, there we go. So that will be it for this lesson. And in the next lesson, we're going to be looking at shading and just giving it a nice look. And also in later on lessons, we're going to be looking at doing terrain as well. So a little landscape for our little piggy to walk across. All right, guys. Well, that'll be it for this lesson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.